Good evening, good day. Hello, how are you? I am sitting under an incredibly bright light, so I'm going to see if I can change this background because it's quite, I'm in quite a bright room and it's, yes. Anyway, so how are you all doing? I hope you're well. I am doing this a little bit on the fly because I've been doing some coaching on different aspects of leadership communication, engagement, things like this, which is another string to my bow, something I've done quite a lot of, and I find it really, really interesting. So that's what I've been up to. But what I'm doing this evening is I'm going to be talking just a short while this evening about where to start with your goals if you haven't already started. Now, you may well be a little bit sorry, I keep moving the camera because of this light in my eye, but you may sort of be a little bit, goaled out already. And I mean, maybe if the word goals doesn't work for you, then use a different word. That's better. It's a bit paler here because it's just shining in my eyes. Anyway, sometimes for some people, the word goal doesn't work. Perhaps the word intention, desire, what you want, your wishes, maybe that's a better word that you would like to use instead of goals, because goals does get used a lot. I mean, I love it as a word, as I would do as a coach, but for some people, different words have different connotations. And maybe, you connect it with goals that you have to do at work, but they're not really your goals, they're the goals for the company. And depending on how you feel about your job will depend on how you feel about the word goals, maybe. Perhaps, as I say, there's a different word you could use, like plans, adventures, ventures, intentions, desires, wants, progress. Find a word that really sits well with you and that you really like and makes you kind of feel inspired and motivated. Now, so where do we start with your goals? I'm going to give you an exercise that will help you to start carving up your goals. Now, some of you may have seen this before. What you can do, and it's a really good coaching tool actually. What you can do is draw a circle on a piece of paper and then divide that circle into about 8 different quadrants. And each of those quadrants is labelled differently. So it may well be slice 1. So if you think about it, it's a circle, it's 8 different slices. In each of those slices, you give it a different label. So for example, home, health, finances, wealth or finances, spirituality or religion, hobbies and recreation, friends, personal growth, education, travel, creativity. Think about some of the areas that are really important to you in your life. Think about, what do I like doing? What do I not like doing? What things are important? What things are really important to me for me for them to go well? So typical labels tend to be some of the ones that I've mentioned: health, finances, wealth, career, romantic relationship or marriage or partner. Did I talk about finances, spirituality and religion, hobbies and recreation, family, house and home? So those, if you think about your everyday life, your health, your house, your family, your friends, your relationship, if you're in one, your finances, your health, your hobbies, think about the stuff that features in your life or you would like to feature in your life, and then give each of those labels a sort of legend or title. So that's the way that you can sort of start carving up the pie of your life, or it's called the life wheel, or it's called lots of different things, but it's a really good exercise to sort of start identifying the different areas you want to work in. And then think about what is it, and think about your timeline. Is it maybe working in a year's time? Is it in 2 years' time? Maybe start with a year. Use these as yearly goals, because there's other techniques I can share with you that are about the longer term picture. But maybe think about your yearly goals. Where do you want to be at the end of the year? What would you like to see? What is the ideal scenario you want to see in each of those areas? And write it down. I would like to have saved enough to buy another property. I would like to spend at least 3 nights a week with my partner. I would like to travel to Peru for 3 months this year. Write down what you really, really want to do, making sure it's realistic. If you want, you can bring that timeline out and maybe make them 2-year goals or 5-year goals, and then you can break them down even further year by year. So start with the sort of, as I say, drawing that circle, putting the labels against the different life areas, the typical ones being home, relationship, family, finances, health, wealth, hobbies, and then write down, think about the timeline you want to work within. So it could be 2 years, it could be 5 years, it could be 1 year, but whatever you do, whatever timeline you set for those areas of your life, you're going to be working back to set your goals. So it doesn't matter really, it's what feels comfortable for you at this point in time. And then, as I said, with each of those labels, write down what you would like to do. I would avoid using words like I must, I should. Think about I would love to, I want to, what I really want is, I'd love, those really empowering words, I want to, rather than it feeling like it's really, really forced. So in each of those areas, you've written down the label for each of the segments and write down that overarching goal that you want to achieve, and make sure you've decided the timeline for this exercise that you're doing. Okay, is it short term? Is it long term? Now, I typically have something that might be my 5-year vision. That looks different. That's in a different document. But what I then do is break that down every year. I revisit it and I do annual goals, monthly goals and weekly goals. I don't do daily goals because I tend to have a list that I work to. So I guess I kind of do. I just call it my to-do list. So really think about those things. And if you're not sure where to start, think about, okay, what didn't go well last year? What annoyed me? So how can I flip that on its head and think about, well, that didn't happen. What I would have liked or loved to have happened is this. So start there. So what went well? Think about what you're good at, what really brings you joy. Where does the time fly? What are you good at? What skills do you have? What experience do you have? What do you like doing? So, for example, there's no point writing a goal for your career to say, do you know what? I want to work by myself at home every day and work at home or full time. If you know that actually you like being around people, it may be I want to move to a career where there's lots of people and a great team environment, and then you can sort of drill it down from there. So make sure these goals are realistic, they're true to you, they're things you enjoy, they're things that you're good at, and they really play to your sorry, I was just looking at time, skills and experience. The other thing is as well, they have to be realistic goals. They can be challenging. I think a little bit of challenge is good. It stops us getting complacent. But they have to be realistic in terms of you feel like you've got a fighting chance of succeeding in them, because otherwise it can be a bit sort of discouraging at the end of the year if you've not quite achieved all of the goals that you've wanted to. Now, sometimes that happens for purely external reasons, but let's start off with things that feel realistic. They do belong to you. It's not what somebody else wants you to do, but on some level you want to do this goal as well, that it's challenging. It's what you love to do. It's where the time flies. It's something you've always wanted to do. So think about it in that way. And then think about, well, when I've achieved that goal, that thing I've written for each area of my life, how will I feel different? How am I going to reward myself? How will I feel when that is accomplished? Because very often we can all get stuck in to-do lists and goals, and doing this kind of work is supposed to be fun, exciting, enjoyable. How will you feel differently once you've achieved this goal? What difference will it bring to your life and the other people in your life? Will finding that new career really help you to improve your relationship, improve your ability to go to the gym more, improve your ability to date your partner more? What kind of knock-on effects will that goal have in the rest of your life? How will you feel differently? As you may have noticed, I've talked about writing them down. writing them down is really important, because so often we have so much flying around in our heads, you know, things we have to do, that we can lose sight of our goals. So as I mentioned, everybody's different. Everybody I coach is different in terms of how they like to set their goals, and whether they call their goals or something else, like intentions, direction, anything that really motivates you. So for example, as I shared a little while earlier, I have a vision board. That's for the longer term. It's a vision board in my office so I can see it. It has pictures. It has a very descriptive idea of how I want my life to look like in the future in a few years' time. I then look at that and go, okay, creatively, where did that vision go? Where did I go with that vision? And then I think, okay, that gives me an idea of my goals. I then do that wheel that I talked about, and I divide my life into the different areas of, for me, career and business, finances, friendships, spirituality, I don't know, adventures, education is something important to me, so I tend to put that on as an area. So they're all going to be different labels, but it might be house and home. Health is on there. As I talked about, there are some key critical areas that we tend to focus on in our life to kind of give us a well-balanced life. And then we write down, well, actually, you know, what time scale feels realistic? Am I working on these as annual goals? Because if it's too big and too far in the future, it gets very difficult to break down the goals or our vision into actionable steps. But we can do that if we then start with a vision, start with the big picture thinking, get creative, and then we break it down, see what we've been drawn to in our vision, what have we outlined, and then break those down into that wheel of life, the different segments of our life, and identify, okay, what do I want for the next year? What do I want for maybe 1 or 2 years? As long as you're setting it in a way that you can break it down into, I would suggest, monthly, weekly, and perhaps even daily goals. So, and sometimes when you're busy, even chunks of time of when you're going to do things, you know. So those are some of the techniques that I find working. And I'll give you an example, and I'm going to give you a personal example. So spirituality and what I believe about the world, the universe, my religious, I would say, spiritual beliefs are really, really important to me. And for some time, I've spent a lot of time working on marketing, my business, and that's been fantastic. That was the right thing to do at the time, and I still continue to do that. However, for me, I've now realised I've reached a point of, okay, I just need to focus and consolidate that activity and really look at the spiritual aspects of my life. Now, I have always actively engaged in spirituality, just as I have always, give or take the odd blip for a week or so when I'm busy, engaged in fitness and health and eating healthily. So, for example, what I've done is one of the goals that's been bubbling away, is that I've signed up for a evening class in spirituality in terms of a qualification that I'm looking at doing. Now, this class only runs one place in the world, and it's in Pacific Standard Time. And if you know the UK, when it is, the teacher's in Australia, and I think it's lunchtime for him, but for me it's midnight. So this course runs every Monday from midnight until 3:30 in the morning. So that's why I might be looking a bit tired this evening. But do you know what? I absolutely, people say to me, how do you stay awake? Why are you doing this class late at night? Because I love it, because I want to do it, because it's something that's going to feed the other areas of my life. And even though it might sound weird from a body clock timing perspective, my motivation is up there. I'm active, I'm present, I'm engaged. And even though I'm a bit tired the next day, I don't really feel it, because I feel so in tune with myself and what's important to me in my life by doing this course. So it gives me more. I know I can always catch up on my sleep later on. So I tend to have an early night on a Tuesday, or I might get a power nap before the course starts. So that's what I'm talking about. Doing stuff that it makes sense that you really, really want to do, and that makes you feel different, that has an impact on your life, and really does develop your skills and what you like to do as a person, because there's no point having a goal if it's not your personal goal. As couples can have goals as long as we're not sacrificing too much, we're collaborating. and working together on goals. That's fine. With business partners, similarly. But at some point, you need to have goals that are for you, by you, for you, and that can really align to that bigger picture of what you want in life. So, okay, let's just recap what I've talked about tonight. Goals. Do you like that word or not? If not, change the word. Call it intentions, plans, ventures, whatever you want to call it. Think about your big picture. How do you want your life to look like in a few years' time? Get that down creatively with pictures on a piece of paper somewhere so you can see it and visualize and really get into the zone, the vibe, like really connect with what you want your life to look like. I think I mentioned on a video recently, I found a vision board of mine from 2011 and I was like, wow, do you know what? I did so much of that stuff, and the stuff that didn't work out led to something else anyway. So it's not that everything works out as we want. It's just about setting the best intentions and the best foot forward for ourselves and the life that we want. I call that inside out leadership. We are leading our lives from the inside out, not waiting for things to happen. And then really look at that bigger picture vision, draw a circle, divide it into 8 different segments, maybe more if you want, but 8 tends to be enough. Things like health, relationships, family, friends, wealth, etc. Replay this video. I've gone through a few different labels. You may have your own priority areas like religion or spirituality, finances, new business. Figure out what's important to you, then write down what you want in a positive way in each of those areas, in a way that feels good for you, not in a kind of harsh, driven, like, I must do this no matter what, but something that's going to engage you. Do your goals challenge you? Are they realistic? Are they ethical for you? Do they make the best of you and who you are as a person? Do they use your skills and experience? If not, what additional skills and experience do you need to acquire to do that? Are you going to enjoy this goal? Is it realistic for you at this point in time? And do you know what? It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have 8 different goals. Pick an area and start there, because sometimes if we pick an area and start small, then we find it has a knock-on effect and it builds our confidence in terms of what we can achieve. Sometimes we can't do everything at the same time. Focus is really important. So maybe it is about focusing on one critical area that's really bugging you and flipping that around and going, okay, I'm going to do something about this now. And then, you know, just, it's like that quote I've seen before. I don't know if you've seen it, when somebody says, bring your best to the table. And the quote says, forget that, I am the table. So, hey, guess what? Why don't you be the table in your own life and make sure that your goals are going to motivate you, make you happy, bring a smile to your face. Otherwise, there's no point. You know, think about how you're going to feel afterwards. How are you going to reward yourself and celebrate? How are you going to feel after you've really decided to set your best intentions for the year? Okay, so that's me for tonight or this evening or today, wherever you are. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and yeah, I'm probably off to get a power nap after my late night evening class. So please do leave any comments, send me a message for anything that you want me to cover in a future video, and get in touch if you'd like to receive my weekly 2-minute e-blast, which just has tips and motivational points and blogs that I share. Okay, thanks for listening. Have a great day or evening. Bye.